In this video, we're going to talk about the differences between Arabic and English, and we'll also talk about the most defining aspects of each one. Hello, this is Anas from Speak Real Arabic. Welcome back. First off, origins. Let's start with Arabic. While there's quite a debate about the origin of Arabic, as some linguists say that the language actually emerged in the 1st century CE, some other linguists actually argue that the language goes way farther than that. Arabic emerged in the northwest of the Arabian Peninsula, and it is considered to be a member of the Semitic family that include Hebrew and Aramaic. In the Middle Ages, Arabic was quite an important language, and it was considered to be the language of science. It had its own influence on many languages in the West, including Spanish. English, on the other hand, is considered to be an ancient language that developed over the course of 1400 years. The old form of English came to Great Britain by Anglo-Saxon settlers in the 5th century. It was a collection of West Germanic dialects, also known as Invionic. Next up on the list is word count. Now this might be mind-blowing. Arabic has no less than 12.3 million words. One of the reasons why the language has such a huge number of words is the fact that some words in Arabic has a lot of variations to them. For example, there is no less than 300 variations to the word lion in Arabic. Some people argue that the number is even 400. Now, make no mistake, not all of these words are actually used in the modern standard Arabic as we know it, because most of these words and expressions were actually used in poetry in the old days. When I was reading through a list of lion names in Arabic, I stumbled upon one that is really funny. One of the names that I found for a lion in Arabic is called Abu Firas. Now, let me give you a bit of a background about why this is funny for us Middle Easterns. In Middle Eastern countries, and especially those that speak the Levantine dialect, it is quite common for people to call each other by the name of their eldest son or daughter. For example, if someone's eldest son is called Hussam, their friend or relative would call them Abu Hussam. They wouldn't actually call them by their name. And the reason for that is that if they're like very close to each other, it would indicate some sort of a social intimacy. Abu means father. Thus, the naming Abu Hussam, which means father of Hussam. Now, even though I am a native speaker myself, I have never actually known before that Abu Firas means a lion. You know, Firas is quite a common name, and I mean, I would associate Firas with something that is like kind or good or funny. Wouldn't actually think of it as a lion. Anyways, jokes aside, when it comes to the word count in English, the number is much smaller at around 600,000 words. Now, don't expect to memorize all of these words anytime soon. Since English is the lingua franca of the science community in the world, new words are being added to it in a constant manner. Number 3 on the list is language structure. In a typical Arabic sentence, the language structure or the word order of a given sentence would be VSO, verb, subject, and object. Example to this, يلعب جورج كرة السلة. So, يلعب is plays, George is George of course, and كرة السلة is basketball. Whereas in English, the word order would be SVO, subject, verb, object, which is of course George plays basketball. However, in modern standard Arabic, you can still sequence a sentence in an SVO word order. So you can actually say in Arabic, George يلعب كرة السلة. The reason why this is possible in modern standard Arabic is because of the fact that modern standard Arabic is actually being influenced by the European languages as of late, and so its word order as well as some of the vocabularies can actually be found in Arabic. Now, adjectives are also reversed in Arabic. You would say something like this, رأيت طيرا جميلا, which means saw I bird beautiful. This is how it is sequenced if we are to translate or if we are to say that in English. So while in English you would say a beautiful bird, in Arabic you would say a bird beautiful or something like that. Now, I know what you might be thinking. English is actually much more easier to learn than Arabic, right? Well, not necessarily. While Arabic, modern standard Arabic, is actually considered a hard language to get a handle on English, on the other hand, is not considered an easy language by any means. There are actually many reasons as to why these languages are considered to be hard languages to learn. For English, some of the reasons are confusing language structure, spelling. As you know, not all words are being spoken or pronounced the way they are written, and the fact that there is a fair amount of exceptions to its rules. For example, you cannot say in English, I eat it, because you cannot actually apply the past tense rule when conjugating the verb eat. In contrast, conjugating verbs in Arabic is not that difficult, especially if you know how it works. Words in Arabic, no matter how big they are actually broken down into roots. These roots have their own conjugating charts. And just like a very well-made crafting system in a video game, if you know the right ingredients, being in this case the letters in the language, you can actually conjugate any word you can, and the system is quite predictable, so you can always predict to have the right outcome. However, Arabic might be difficult to learn due to a different set of reasons than that of English. For example, some sounds in Arabic are not actually found in other languages, such as ha, qaf, kha. Also, words in Arabic are difficult to pronounce for beginners. This is due to the fact that Arabic text is unvocalized. The absence of vowels in the language makes it hard for beginners to predict how to pronounce a certain letter in a certain word. One workaround for this is the use of what's known in Arabic as harakat or as tashkil. Harakat or tashkil are small signs found either above or below a certain letter in Arabic, and they're there in order to aid the beginner pronouncing a certain word. As you see here, I have put some harakat or tashkil to the words found on this sentence. It reads, الصدق أحسن الفضائل. الصدق أحسن الفضائل. So, if we are to pick a letter out of this sentence, like noon right here, you can see that there is this haraka or tashkil called dhamma. And this actually indicates that you have to pronounce the noon as nu. Now, if this was actually replaced by something else, the sound of noon would be actually different. So it would be like na or ni. So this is how a beginner would actually understand how to read a word in Arabic. Now, although these harakat are quite important for beginners when they start learning Arabic, they're not quite as much when they become, like, say, intermediate or advanced. And the reason being, they can easily predict how the word, a given word, is being pronounced by the context of that word in a given sentence. Now, this applies to learning modern standard Arabic through the standard method. But if you're actually planning to learn, say, Levantine dialect through the non-standard method, such as the one that we do on our website, Speak Real Arabic, then you can expect to have a much easier and fun learning experience. On this very channel too, you can find a lot of material that is targeted at beginner audience that implements the spaced repetition method. The spaced repetition method is actually quite helpful in learning Levantine in particular and any other language in general. I have actually tried using this method learning Russian, and I was actually having quite a progress in a very short period of time. English utilizes the Latin alphabet writing system. This system is the most common in the world, with 4.5 billion people using it, or around 70% of the whole world population. Arabic, on the other hand, has its own alphabet. It's called Abjad. It consists of 28 letters, and it implements a right-to-left writing system, which many people find much more easier than the left-to-right writing system, because you are actually pushing the pen rather than pulling it. Although you can write English in both cursive and print style, Arabic, on the other hand, is written in one style in which letters are being joined up, with some exceptions to letters that don't connect. We call these letters the selfish letters, and they are Alif, Dal, Val, Ra, Say, Wow. Now, it's not the wow in English, it's just wow, without much of an emphasis on it, so. Here is a bunch of examples. Barud. This word means gunpowder. As you can see here, the wow and ra and dal and even the alif right here is actually disconnected. Another word is marid. This means giant in English. The third example is zahra. This means flower. And last we have ذهب. This means gold, and the ذال here is actually also disconnected. So that's it for now. What do you think of both of these languages? Do you think one of them is easier than the other? Smash a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Salam.